Taylor Phillips here on the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Want to welcome back special guest Kyle Busch of the Healthy Scratch Podcast, the Bushy and Bobo Show. Kyle Busch, welcome back. Must be great to see you again. And this postseason, this free agency season, for example, along with the coaching staff hirings and whatnot, man, it has really got at least us stoked.
I think a lot of people are probably pretty stoked right now because I think a lot of these moves you never see them coming. And with a guy like Steve Yzerman, he has said, don't look at anything I do, don't read into it too much. But man, he made some moves in the first day of free agency that I was shocked in a good way. There was one where I was almost shocked in a really bad way. I know you probably saw my tweet because I think you liked it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know where you want me to start. We've got the coaching staff, we've got the free agents, a trade. This team is going to look so much different going into this season than they did last year. And I mean, I know I've done a video on the changes, trusting the Yzer plan, and how crazy the change has been since Yzerman's been the GM. And like it makes it even more so with just the turnover, the new faces coming in. Generally speaking, I like it. I like what I see. If I'm going to be really nitpicky, we can do that too. But if you want to talk to coaching staff, a lot of people have asked me, hey man, you're into the Wings. What do you think of the coaches? And I know we talked about that last time, right? About who do you think it's going to be? Well, Derek Lalonde, we didn't talk about Derek Lalonde. And now if I really think about it, we probably should have, because Tampa Bay assistant coach Yzerman knows the guy. And from what he said when he let Blashill go, that he was going to look for somebody that he knows. I mean, kind of slam dunk almost, right? He kind of overlooked this guy. But like, here's a question. It's the Truth podcast, right? What do you know about Derek Lalonde before he was the Red Wings coach? And be honest.
Assistant coach behind John Cooper.
And that's it.
Of the Tampa Bay Lightning. But he was also a championship winner in the ECHL with the Toledo Walleye.
I didn't know
one of my associates, Frank Vashner, has dug up.
Yeah. So I didn't know that. So I'm just saying, like, I feel like I know. I don't want to say I know everything because I clearly don't. But
yeah, Frank Vashner told me that Derek Lalonde was a winner everywhere he goes.
Yeah, and he is. But you know who else was? Jeff Blashill. Just to put it in perspective here, because with coaches, it's something where I kind of go like, I don't really know any of these guys well enough to go like, oh, that's a good hire. Like when people kind of say that, you know, some of the guys that have been going through the turnstiles, like, would you really want John Tortorella here? Like, absolutely not. Right. What I'm hearing, I watched the whole press conference with Lalonde and Yzerman, and from what I get from him, I like it. He said a lot of the right things. He's a player's coach. It sounds like. I like the fact that he talked about building relationships with these players, right? I think it's one of those things where, like, you've watched Moneyball, right, with Brad Pitt about the Oakland A's and how he talks about, I don't want to get too close to these players. I got to trade them, cut them, send them down. Like, as a coach, I think it's kind of different. Like, you want to have that bond. And Lalonde did say, I want to have like the first thing they asked him was like, what's your first thing? He's like, I'm going to reach out to every player, learn about them, see what they want from this, to get a relationship so that when the tough conversations happen, they can have those conversations, with a backbone of a relationship there. So I like to hear that. I mean, I never played at really like a high level or anything, but if a coach, you could approach him and, say, hey, I got something going on, or like, what can I do better? Like it just felt so much better than having an authoritarian guy like a Tortorella or Keenan or something like that, where I think with most guys, it doesn't really drive that well. So, hey, I was excited for when Blashill was hired. Okay. I've tempered my expectations with this guy. I mean, with Blashill, I think it was more for me with Blashill was I had enough of Babcock. It was kind of like it was time to move on, but it also was something where we could have looked at it and went, well, they're going to be bad. Like they're going to go through a rebuild for sure. And like we said last time, it wasn't Yzerman said it wasn't a complete shit show with like, the media and stuff like that. But, Boughner is a Windsor guy, obviously was coaching with the Spitfires, San Jose Sharks, Columbus Blue Jackets, and now he's back with the Red Wings. I don't know anything about Alex Westlund. I'd have to look it up. Hopefully he can help the tenders get a little bit better. So I you know what? Hey, with all of these things, I try to say, if you're doubting Yzerman, that he doesn't really haven't given you a reason to doubt him yet. So why would you? So, hey, I'm going with it. Like, he hired these guys. He thinks they're the ones. So let's go with it until something else happens. They're not even on the ice yet. Like, I have no idea. I can't say like, hey, I love the hire or I hate it, because I really, honestly don't know him. But obviously 2 cups helps. I mean, if go and look at his hockey DB and his coaching, you're right. Every level, he's gone from NCAA Division II or something with like Bowling Green or something, and then he went up to the USHL, then he went to the ECHL, then the AHL with Iowa. Obviously, you said Toledo, and then he jumped to the NHL as an assistant. Now he's the head coach. He's never dropped down. He's kept climbing that ladder, and I like that because, like we said last time, I want to get off this stupid coaching carousel. I'm so sick and tired of seeing Pete DeBoer get hired by like 15 different teams, and it's like, well, why do you keep getting the same guy? You can't get it done. Like, what is it about these coaches? Is it just because they're known? Is it because they're in an NHL locker room? Like, you're telling me there's no assistant coaches or head coaches in the AHL or NCAA that have the wherewithal and know-how to like coach an NHL team? Like, I don't believe that. So this is the 3rd time that Yzerman has hired a non-NHL coach as his head coach with no coaching experience, right? So it worked well one of the 2 times. I mean, Boucher, he was a decent coach. Obviously, John Cooper, 2 Stanley Cups, 2 Stanley Cup finals as well. People forget
Almost
about 2015. 3. Yeah. I mean, could have had 4 if they would have beat Chicago in 2015.
Yeah. Yeah. So technically almost 4. He came close in 2015 against the Blackhawks, and he came close in 2022 against the Avalanche.
And I think with Lalonde, I don't think he was with the Lightning in 2015. I don't think he was. I'd have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't there yet. But so yeah, hey, let's see what he does. Hey, it can't get any worse than last year and the year before. We've talked about how basically Raymond and Seider were the ones that really, carried the team, but you get rid of them, they might have had a worse season than the year before.
Not to mention Larkin and Bertuzzi.
Well, sure, but they were on the team the year before. I'm just saying, Raymond and Seider were new. So them coming in and being revelations wasn't expected.
Yeah, Seider won the Calder, of course.
He did, and Mo Seider was on Spit and Chicklets the other day, and he was talking about how his goal wasn't to be a Calder Trophy winner. He wanted to make the lineup. Well, you're the best defenseman on the team by far, and then a rookie, in Raymond, that immediately comes on the top line and buries 20. It's like, that's pretty damn good. And if they didn't have those 2, I don't know where they would have been last year.
Right. So the Red Wings, before day 1 of free agents signing, they inked St. Louis Bolt. Yeah.
On the draft. We can even talk about that if you'd like.
Oh yeah, the draft. Yeah, of course. I was going to get to Ville Husso, but let's talk. Yeah, Ville Husso, they signed him as a backup goaltender to a 3-year contract to back up Alex Nedeljkovic, Thomas Greiss. It might have been a trade between Husso and Greiss. Greiss went to the Blues for a 1-year contract, I think.
Mm-hmm. It's hilarious. If I'm St. Louis, I'm stopping, dude. If it's Steve Yzerman flashing on the phone, like, don't unplug your phone, like unplug it, throw it away, don't answer it, because you've been fleeced 3 times now. So I mean, this Husso one, I mean, it's not that bad, because I don't think they were going to sign him to this cap hit. They couldn't. So hey, let's get something for him. They got a 3rd round pick, good for St. Louis. But you replace him with Thomas Greiss, it looks a little worse. But the De La Rose for Fabry trade, I mean, that's a clear loss for St. Louis. And then the Leddy trade for Wallman, Sundqvist, and a 2nd round pick. And then they just re-signed Letty to a 4-year contract. I mean, what the hell are they doing? I mean, St. Louis out of their goddamn minds. But hey, that's just what they're gonna do. I still think they'll be a good team, but they picked Husso or Binnington. They picked Binnington. They won him a cup, right? Billy Husso. I'm. This is where I will kind of not maybe disagree with you a bit. He's not coming in to be the backup. These guys, Ned and Husso, are going to be 1A, 1B. Whoever's winning is going to be in the net. Because you saw it with Greiss, and he's not that good. When he won a few games, he'd stay in the net. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. Again, I know Lalonde is a different coach than Blashill. And talk about a trade. Blashill's an assistant in Tampa now with his buddy Cooper. So hope we win that trade. But Husso, he's going to be way better than Greiss. And I honestly feel like just having this guy in the lineup is going to add 3, 4, 5 wins just from having him as a goalie. He might steal you a few, and like, he's still relatively young. He's 27. He's not like a prospect, but goalies do blossom, later. And I feel like, a guy like this is a situation where he can start a lot of games. He started the playoffs for St. Louis. He did struggle and Binnington replaced him, but like, that was the first time he's been in the NHL playoffs, right? So cut him a little slack. I really like the signing. Did they overpay him a little bit? Yeah, they did. But I think it's something where to kind of keep him around and maybe get that third year. It was something where I think it's worth it because Ned's only signed for another year. I'm pretty sure. I got to look up his cap here. But one more year and then Ned's up. So even if they let Nedeljkovic walk or they trade him at the deadline, maybe you still have Husso for another 2 years. You're kind of bridging the gap for Kosa. Hopefully, he turns out to be something really good because that would be really nice. Husso had a pretty good year actually because he's only been in the NHL for like 2 years. I don't think a lot of people notice that. 256 goals against average regular season. That's pretty good. Went 25, 7, and 6. That's on a good team. And then save percentage is 919. That's fantastic. So
in the regular season, yeah.
In the regular season, yeah. In the playoffs, I mean, he did struggle. 890 save percentage isn't bad, but
especially against Colorado.
He had a lot of goals. Well, I mean, Colorado is what a powerhouse they were. But yeah, I love the trade because Detroit had so many extra draft picks. Why not turn one of them into someone is going to be on your team? You can always talk about, they overpaid him. It's like, I don't know. I think it's fine just to keep him that 3-year term. So I love the Husso trade and sign. Now, like with the draft, if you want to kind of jump into that, because this did happen at the draft. Mm-hmm. Again, one of these things that I'll say till I'm like blue in the face is nobody knows anything about any prospect. Okay. Like scouts even get it wrong. Right. So when I hear a lot of people that are like podcasters or, they're, even like the media too, or fans that are like, I want this guy. I'm always like, well, why? Like, what do you know? Because I think the truth is you don't. You've seen one YouTube video of, you know what I mean? Because here's the thing. I don't know anything about Marco Kasper. I hope he turns out to be a really good Red Wing. They drafted him 8th overall. You want him to be really good. You know who's drafted 9th overall? Michael Rasmussen. And he's finally kind of turning into something way down the line. So who knows, right? I hope he turns into something, a second line center would be great. But I didn't know anything about him. And I still really don't because I'm not a scout. I haven't watched these kids, right? It's impossible. So when you look at a mock draft, I think a lot of people are talking out of their ass. I think they really are. And that's something that I'll never do that. But obviously a lot of picks that the Wings had, like the trade for Husso is great. Picking Kasper, awesome. I thought, obviously you look at mock drafts and that's someone that was going in that range. You hear rumblings. I'm like, okay, that's obviously their guy. Like, I always have to remind Wings fans, like, hey, man, Yzerman's first pick ever was Moritz Seider at 6, and people were pissed. Like, even I was like, who's this? Like, I don't know who he is, right? But wow, I mean, he was ranked like 23rd. What the hell are we doing? And the kid turns out to be a stud, and he's a Calder Trophy winner. Like, trust your GM, trust the scouts, because this is a different regime than the Ken Holland regime before, right? Like, a lot of the scouts are the same, but, Yzerman's making the call here. So trust him, right? Anyone he's picking, just assume they're going to be good, because now obviously that's not going to happen. Not everybody's going to be like that, but like nobody knows that much about these prospects. Even if you're watching video or you see a couple OHL games or you're, looking at the stats, like that's all well and good. So, a little bit, but not enough to make an informed decision. Like we should take this guy because who knows how he projects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, Marco Kasper, I think he's a really good player too.
Yeah, and I mean, I saw a little bit of the development camp game. There was actually today 3-on-3. He looked okay. He's got to work on, I think, the foot speed a little bit. Like when you watch him, I'm like, okay, he's clearly stands out. But is he like super flashy? Not really. But is he going to be a solid player? I hope so. So, I mean, fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm. Fingers crossed is right. Now, the meat of the matter.
Yes, sir.
First off, Andrew Kopp from the New York Rangers. Combined with the Winnipeg Jets and New York Rangers in the regular season, 21 goals, 32 assists, 19 minutes, 11 seconds of average time on ice, 16 penalty minutes. He's a clean hockey player in 72 games. Yeah. Just 16 penalty minutes. In the playoffs, 6 goals and 8 assists in 20 games. That's 14 points.
So wow. I think Kopp was kind of a revelation, like when he went to the Rangers, because we look at the Jets. Now, I actually saw Andrew Kopp play when he was with Michigan. He played with Dylan Larkin for the year. He was there for 3 years. He was the captain, so it's kind of cool to see him come home. I've always kind of followed some of the Michigan players that played for the Wolverines, just because I always go to the Great Lakes Invitational, Dual Nadi, all that fun stuff. So if you look at his stats with Winnipeg, like from, let's say 2016 is kind of when he started playing full-time, 13 points, 17, 28, 25, 26. And then in 2021, like last season, 39 points in 55 games. That's pretty good. And then, this year, pretty good. I mean, like you said, he had 53 points, something like that. So, I mean, he's on the way up, even though he's 28 years old. Yzerman said today in his press conference, I love listening to what his thought process with some of these is. He was comfortable giving the 5-year deal. I looked at it and went, yeah, anytime I see term like that, I'm like, ooh, he's 28, he'll be 33 when he's done. But at the same time, like 33 is not ancient. Like I'm 31, man. Like I'm not that old. But like I liked it. And even honestly, the term isn't that bad either. You know what I mean? 5.6. Hey, yeah, I'll take that for sure. Yeah, I think he was a top 10 guy in unrestricted free agency. So it fills a clear need at that second line center position. It bumps Pius Suter down to the third line center position, and he had a good year. Like that's actually kind of nice because now it's like, oh, hey, like center depth, like just instantly there it is, right? No waiting for Joe Veleno to figure it out. No waiting for, okay, is Suter going to take the next step? Well, we got Andrew Kopp. Like he's going to be, and I think most of this too with the Jets, he was playing like third line minutes, right? Because you said 19 minutes is like, it's okay, right? That's kind of second, third line. I think that was more, he got more ice time with the Rangers and obviously played really well in the playoffs. And that's where I kind of looked at him and went, man, if we could get him, that would be nice. And there was a rumor that he was going to sign with them. He did. So that was the first signing of the day. Like I was pretty excited about it. If you want to look at some of like the micro stats a little bit, just with Kopp. So, I mean, he's definitely more of an offensive player. He has a lot of defensive qualities too, which is really interesting because he's 52nd percentile for defense, which is right in the middle, like top third, I'd say, or top maybe 25% in offense, which even strength. His penalty kill numbers are impeccable. Like this guy can kill a penalty. He can also be on the power play. I mean, the compete level is really high, makes his teammates better. Like the guy is like an overall, I think just like a super solid player. Is he going to be a superstar? No, but can you expect 60 points? I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Because he's going to get a lot more opportunity than I think he did with Winnipeg. So I love the Andrew Kopp signing. I don't see anything really like a downside. Like I love the player. I like the contract. I mean, the cap hit's great. And we have him for 5 years. So I hope he gets better. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they smack an A on his jersey because you don't commit it to a guy like that. I mean, he was a captain in Michigan, right? He is kind of one of those leadership guys. So, I mean, that to me, it was a kind of a home run. And when I heard, okay, Copp's going to Detroit, I'm like, okay, perfect. And I would have been fine with that. Like, and that's it, right? If they just did that, all right, cool. Because I wasn't really expecting a whole lot other than maybe a defenseman. I went, okay, they're probably going to nab a defenseman. I wonder who it is, right? So, I mean, yeah, Copp, I mean, 2 thumbs up. So, yeah, speaking of defensemen, right? So,
Yeah.
what do you think about Copp?
Well, he's a goal scorer. That's one.
Yes, he is.
That's one thing that the Red Wings. That's one thing the Red Wings need. Also, on defense, Ole Mata from the LA Kings to a 1-year, $2.25 million contract, a goal and 7 assists in 66 games. But what I read an article from SB Nation. He has it reads he has the ability to shut down opposing defenses and play a physical game. In other words, he has very defensive, enforcing skills to combine those two together, those two elements together.
Ole Mata, when they signed him, I was like, huh, like really? Because again, I mean, I haven't really watched the Kings. I know that Mata was with the Penguins, and that's where he was drafted. Then he had a cup of tea with Chicago, and I think like with him, even looking up his stats here, yeah, he's definitely not really offensive. His best season was 2018 with Pittsburgh. And I think that's where his offensive abilities were kind of like that's where he peaked, and then kind of reinvented himself. Once he left Pittsburgh, he had to reinvent himself with Chicago and LA because they're not really like at the time, they weren't really like high scoring teams the last few years, right? But I mean, like the contract is great. 1 year, 2.2, like that's nothing, right? I mean, throw it at him, get him, right? You're looking at defense, and that's it. Because the thing is like he's not a tough guy. Okay. He's a player that is going to make it tough, make it difficult for offenses to even gain the zone. He's awesome again. And like, this is a thing. If you look at all these players we're going to go through and I talk about their stats, like their micro stats, all the advanced stats, it's all defense and penalty killing. Like in improving the defense was a big thing that Steve Yzerman wanted to do. It's what Derek Lalonde has said he wanted to do. Is this team gets blown out way too much. 9-2, 11-1, all this shit that it's just not acceptable. Copp is going to help that 100%. Mata is going to help that 100%. They needed a couple guys on the left D. Mata's going to be in top 4 for sure, right? I mean, he's going to be either paired with Seider or Hronek. And either way, when you put these puzzles together, as we keep going through these free agent signings, it's going to become more clear what the hell Yzerman was doing with some of these signings and why I'm kind of okay with them. So Mata, I mean, 92% PK, like he's awesome on the PK. Even strength defense, 92%. Like he's a defensive player. He's not going to score. He's not going to get you points. He's not going to be an offensive player. He's purely defense, and that's all you have him for. But guess what? Mo Seider is good at everything, let's say, right? But the times that he won the Calder Trophy with Danny DeKeyser as a defense partner. He's a boat anchor, right? Can you imagine him with Ole Mata, who's not fantastic by any means, but with these stats defensively, when Seider jumps into the play, having the confidence in your D partner to be, hey, I got you. If you screw this up or something comes back the other way, like we're good. I got it, right? What a luxury for Mo Seider, and honestly, like for Philip Hronek too, because he's more of an offensive player, and I think he gets burned a lot because he wants to take these offensive chances, but he has no one to cover up for him, right? Mark Stahl's not going to do it, and that's why he's not here anymore. That's why Danny DeKeyser isn't here anymore, right? I love
DeKeyser went elsewhere. Mark Stahl went to the Florida Panthers.
Well, DeKeyser, I think, is dead. I think his career is toast. I don't think he's going anywhere. I know.
Did he actually officially retire? DeKeyser did?
No, I'm just saying. I think he's screwed. I mean, his back is shot, and I mean, it was pretty obvious he was not effective. I don't think he gets a contract.
Almost like Henrik Zetterberg, right? Because his back was killing him.
I mean, right, but he actually was effective. Like at the end of the
Zetterberg was an effective goal scorer.
Even at the end of his career, he was effective defensively. Like at least there was something with DeKeyser. I mean, I felt bad for the guy because he used to be, a very
like first 2 years.
Yeah, he was very, very good. And then he hurt his back and he never was the same. And he was my whipping boy, but it wasn't, it was because his contract was so bad. So, but again, love the Cop deal.
Yeah.
Love the
That was
Mata
Ken
deal.
Holland. Yep.
And I thought they were done. Honestly, like at this point, I went Cop, Mata, boom.
Not
perfect.
even nearly done.
We got our goalie. We're done, right? So I don't know. Who's next?
Well, unfortunately, we have to go in chronological order. Let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. Florida Panthers defenseman Ben Sherratt at age 31 to a 4-year, $19 million contract, kind of almost like Jim Rutherford of the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2019. Not quite Ken Holland, but Jim Rutherford in 2019. The way I measure this, the way Urinating Tree did videos in 2019, and I got to shoot you one of those videos. 9 goals, 17 assists with the Montreal Canadiens, and 2 goals and 6 assists with the Florida Panthers. So that's 11 goals, 23 assists. That's 34 points total combined with the Canadiens and Panthers. Now, of course, lots of fans don't like this, and I guess there is at least one reason why. Mm-hmm. And then my question is, though, can he still play defense?
So Ben Sherratt, and here's the thing. I went through this when me and Bobo did our trade deadline episode. We went through all the highest rated players and we tried to do our own rankings. And Ben Sherratt was like towards the bottom. On TSNs and Sportsnet, he was like at the top. And I mean, the Panthers gave up a first round pick, a prospect, and like a player for him. So, I mean, they gave up a lot to get him. He wasn't really effective with the Panthers. I mean, in the playoffs at all. But it's one of these things where, and one of my buddies, Lou, says it, all the time. You have to balance the stats in these advanced stats with the eye test. You have to, because sometimes you're not seeing what you're getting with a guy. And I'm hoping that Ben Sherratt is one of those guys, because he's not good defensively. He's not good on the PK. I mean, he takes a ton of penalties, and but the thing is, he's a rugged, hardworking defenseman. He has some offensive upside. And it's one of those things where I don't hate the player. Okay. The micro stats sometimes can make you look at a thing and go, wow, this guy stinks. But you go and watch that Canadiens Cup run. He was awesome. Like, he was so good. And I mean, maybe this is part of, the Canadiens were terrible last year. They were so bad that what the hell do you want him to do? He was getting paid and played as a top line defenseman, where he's not. He really isn't. I mean, on this team, on Detroit, he will be top 4. Again, he's a left defenseman, just like Ole Mata. They lost Mark Stahl and Danny DeKeyser, both lefty, right? So you got Hronek and Seider both on the right side. Sherratt and Mata are going to be paired with one of those guys. That's how it's probably going to go. Unless Simon Edvinsson makes the team or Albert Johansson makes the team, maybe they get paired with them as well. But the thing that it's funny, because this is what Twitter was made for. It was free agency day and the trade deadline. That's what Twitter was made for me anyway. Because when I saw Elliot Friedman tweet out, they're Detroit in on Sherratt, I'm like, oh shit, what? Are we really doing this? Because I loved the first 2 signings. Like, keep that up, right? And then they said Sherratt. I'm like, oh fuck, like this is not good. And then we waited for a couple hours to hear did he sign? Because Elliot was the only one that said it. And then finally they came out and said, 4 years, 4.8. I'm like, whoa, holy shit. I think I tweeted out, oh Jesus, God, no. Like, I was not happy with it. I'm like, this is insane. What the hell are we doing here? Most of the time, I think in life, your first reaction most of the time might not be accurate, or just you won't have all the information. So I decided to do the rational thing, calm down, and just think about it and go, okay, what does Yzerman see in this guy? I went, he hasn't made a mistake yet, right? So, okay, what does he see in Ben Sherratt?
The research is out there.
He's going to see a guy that's a hardworking defenseman, that's gritty, that's going to be a pain in the ass in front of the net. I don't see any micro stats about net front battles. I went, okay, yeah, I don't see that, right? Not everything is put into these numbers. So sometimes with that eye test, it is, you're seeing different types of things. And I honestly think because he was on Montreal, all these stats look worse than they are. And I think it's just maybe he wasn't in the right role there because Weber didn't play. I mean, Jeff Petrie had a terrible season. Then they had him. They had nobody else on D. Like, what are they going to do? They're counting on him, right? They had him and like Kulak. That's all they had. So I think it was just maybe he's not in the right role. Maybe Yzerman's looking at it going, man, if we put him on the second pair, right, and get him away from those top lines, maybe we have something here. The 4 years, I mean, we're hopefully, fingers crossed, this is the only risky signing that I saw was this Ben Sherratt thing. Because obviously you can fit him under the salary cap with this 4.8. It is a lot. But the 4 years was the thing that really shocked me. I thought it would be like 1 or 2. But I'm like, holy crap, 4 years for this guy. That was the only shocking part of it. But I can see where it's going with Mata and Sherratt on that left side. They really had nobody else. I mean, there's really nobody else that I would rather sign there. John Klingberg, it's like, yeah, but he's offensive and he's going to cost you way more and more term. He's going to want 6 or 7 years. That's why he hasn't signed anywhere yet. So would I rather this? At this point, really thinking about it, yeah, I would. So I'm sort of coming around to it. Again, put him on the ice and maybe he's great. Maybe he's not going to be Lidstrom, but if he can complement Seider or Hronek in a way that they can actually do what they need to do offensively, then great. Then that's what he's here for. And if he's a pain in the ass to play against, and he does take a lot of penalties, hopefully they're a lot in front of the net, right? Get these guys out of here. Fine with me.
Yeah, and there's always a scale between those two. But either way, that money has to be earned, no matter how long that contract may be.
Yeah, he is 31. I mean, I think he has, earned that. He would have got it somewhere.
He's in his prime too.
And you know what I say to usually, like, I'll talk with the boys. I'm like, wow, that guy got overpaid. I go, yeah, but it's free agency. Like, you kind of have to do that to get guys to come. Sometimes you have to be like, well, I'll give him a little bit more to entice him to come here, because sometimes, the money doesn't really follow the stats. It's more, we need the guy, we want him, you bring him in, right? Give him what he wants. So is it really what he's worth? I don't know. I mean, I look at sometimes my job, I go, do I get paid? Everybody does that. Do I get paid what I'm worth? Maybe, maybe not, right? So, but I think Sherratt will work out here. I hope he's not my whipping boy. De Kaiser's gone, so there's usually one guy that I shit all over, and we'll see who it is. Hopefully it's not Sherratt.
Well, Yzerman still was not even done yet. He got 2 more big goal scorers. First off, Chicago Blackhawks left winger Dominic Kubalik, age 26, to a 2-year, $5 million contract, cheap. 15 goals, 17 assists, 32 points, 161 shots on goal in 78 games. Wow.
He's a shooter. I love the deal because it's $2.5 million. It's nothing. He was a restricted free agent for the Blackhawks, and he wasn't qualified. Neither was Dylan Strome. He just signed with the Capitals. Yep. They've done this actually last year with Pius Suter. They didn't qualify him either. And if people don't know what qualifying means, it's just they were restricted free agents. It's contracts are tricky, and even me, I try to really understand some of the rules. It's hard, but it has to do with their age. It has to do with their games played in the league, and when their contract is up. So being restricted means that your rights are still with your team. So Chicago had Kubalik's rights, and they decided, instead of giving him a qualifying offer, which is a percentage of their pay from the year before, it was going to be too much. So they said, nah. Now I think Chicago is straight up, and I've said this before, I don't think there's a such thing as tanking, but they're definitely not adding to their team. They're letting guys walk. Chicago's going to be terrible this year. But Kubalik had 30 goals in his rookie season, and he had 17 the year after, 15. So technically his point total has gotten lower as the Blackhawks have got worse. So I love that this is a low risk, high reward, which is a Yzerman staple, right? I mean, you think about Ole Mata, right? That's a low risk, high reward, right? There's really no risk in bringing the guy in. He's not going to cost you $1 million bajillion dollars, and he's going to be solid. I think Kubalik has the potential to play second line minutes. I think he has the potential to get back to that 30-goal plateau. Why not, right? If he gets the opportunity to be in that top 6, which, as we're going to talk about, got pretty log jammed, which is a great thing to have. And I love it because it's only 2 years, right? You have him next year as well. I mean, you're filling roster spots. And I think what we probably should do at the end of this is like go through some of the lines, the depth chart of like what this team looks like now. And suddenly they have 3 lines that can score, in my opinion, and a solid fourth line, I'd say a decent 6 defenseman, depending on what Edmondson does. So I love the Kubalik signing. It came out of nowhere. Again, I thought they were done. I thought after this Trot thing, I'm like, all right, they don't need anybody else because Fabry's going to come back. And, hopefully Zadina takes the next step. Maybe Berggren makes the team. But I think I like this move because it creates competition within the forward group. Nobody has a job, really. I mean, like, you could lose it. I mean, if you're not performing, there's so many good players up front now, or I wouldn't say good, but depth players. Anybody can get plugged into anywhere, right? So the Kubalik signing, another, I think, really, really good signing by Yzerman.
Yeah, he's a guy that can really shoot the puck a lot more than a pass. He is not afraid to shoot the puck. And that's what I like about Kubalik.
I know. And he is a shooter, and that's kind of what we need. We need more goal scoring, right? So,
yeah, just got to keep proving it here with the Wings. That's it.
Well, for sure. And I mean, that's something where he has to bounce back too, right? I mean, 32 points in 78 games isn't that great. I want him to get back to that rookie, like when he was a rookie, right? And I mean, given the opportunity, and like I said, looking at maybe some of his line mates, some of his teammates, he might get that opportunity to shine with a few guys. And, maybe he'll get some second power play time. It depends how Lalonde wants to use these guys, right? But the nice thing, like I said, it's creating competition. I kind of feel a little bit bad for Jeff Blashill. Can you imagine him watching this going, man, they just signed like 8 guys. Like that, man, I could have done something with these.
He's forced to miss out. He got his pink slip.
Yeah, but at the same time, I wonder what he could have done with these guys. But think about last year. Let's say the first power play isn't working, right? Well, who the hell are you putting out there on the second one? They had nobody, right? I mean, Vrana was hurt all year, granted. But now they actually have a legitimate second line power play that can probably score, right? So you have 2 power play units that can, move around and score goals, potentially. I mean, that's why I like the Kubalik deal, is he can plug in there no problem.
Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you who's a real big-time first liner. David freaking Perron, a left winger for the St. Louis Blues at age 34. 2 years, $9.5 million contract. Not over $10 million. Yzerman was being a little extra careful with the money. But David Perron, 27 goals, 30 assists, 48 penalty minutes in 67 games in the regular season. 9 goals, 4 assists, 13 penalty minutes in 12 games played in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And he helped the Blues win the Cup, part of the 2019 Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues, right?
He's been part of the Blues 3 times. Fun fact. So he was actually drafted by them, and then he left in 2013, went back for a season 2017, went to the Golden Knights in the expansion draft, and then re-signed with the Blues. So 3 times. Maybe after this one he'll go back. Who knows? David Perron was, again, another one. I went, wow, I didn't see that coming either. But here's the thing. He's not a superstar, and he's old. He's 34. And what I did went right away. The one thing that I knew about David Perron, again, me and Bobo did a podcast kind of video of the original 6 draft. What we did was we went, I wonder what the league would look like with only 6 teams. We redraft all the players. The teams were insane. They were stacked. And one of the ways that I did my scouting for my teams, I drafted 3, Bobo drafted 3, was I looked at the last 2 or 3 seasons, and I wanted to know who has the most points, who's scoring, who's getting the assists, right? David Perron was top 40, believe it or not, right? I went, holy shit, really? This guy's
top freaking 40.
He's consistently bagging 60 points, right? Now, St. Louis is a good team, right? Vegas was a good team when he was there, right? So he's had a lot of success there, but I mean, literally throughout his career, looking at it, he's always around, like I'd say he's averaging around 50 points, which is great. And he's not going to be on the top line in Detroit. Don't get that wrong. It's going to be Bertuzzi, Larkin, Raymond, but
reached
like
almost
Perron,
60 last year.
You're going to have he's playing top line. He's playing second line. It's going to be Perron with Kopp and Verana probably. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's a really good second line in 2 years. I don't care. That's probably what you have to give him to get him to come here. And you hope he doesn't have the swan song that he's just going to be ineffective this year. You hope, he has another year where he gets 27 goals. Hey, I'll take 27-30 for 57 points, 100%. That's what I want. That's what we're paying for. So the weird thing is he is insanely good on the power play. He is not effective 5-on-5. So I think they're really bringing him in to be like a power play guy. And maybe that does mean sometimes that he gets bumped down onto that third line, depending on who's maybe Kubalik is in that spot. If Zadina plays well, he might get bumped up. If Fabry comes back, it's a lot of good problems to have. But it was just funny to me that he's not really he got a lot of his goals on the power play, which is fine because that's what Detroit needs. Finishes a lot on his chances. He does take penalties though, and that's one thing that I was like, okay, hopefully he doesn't, take a lot of unnecessary ones. But again, high compete level, definitely a leader in the locker room. He's the oldest player on the team now. He's 34. So I love the fact they have Perron in there. Maybe he gets an A on his jersey. I have no idea, but definitely some more veteran leadership on a team that's very young. So again, great contract. I love the signing. There's nothing wrong with depth. There's nothing wrong with having too many good players, right?
Absolutely not.
And I like the term that it was only 2 years, right? So
they got at least four good players, four great players.
Well, and then you look at your defense or your goaltending, right? I mean, you got another good goalie. So
yeah. And then today they selected Buffalo Sabres defenseman Mark Pysyk, or how do I pronounce it? 30 years old, 1 year, $850,000 contract. He's going to be a third pairing, I hear.
Well, he'll be competing for that third role, right? That third line. So I think again, there's more competition in there. You have like 8 defensemen that are going to be vying for spots. Like Mark Pysyk isn't anything. He was a first round pick in 2010, never really panned out for that. But like you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's like 9 defensemen, 10 really, looking for spots. So like Pysyk, he's a defensive guy. Again, it's another thing. We look at all these players, every single one. Defense, maybe not Kubalik, but and Perron, but defense. We're trying to increase their team defense, get the power play good. Hit that second line center position. Yzerman checked all the boxes on day one. Pysyk is more of a depth signing, right? I mean, I look at him like kind of a better version of Steve Kampfer. Like he's going to be in the AHL, but like looking at their team, like just count them off right now. Sherratt, Hronek, Mata, Jordan Osterley, Seider, Lindstrom, Pysyk, Kampfer, Wallman, Edmondson, maybe Johansson. It's 11 defensemen. You can only keep 7. You can only play 6 or 7, right? So there's going to be some tough decisions there. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, do you see a trade coming? I don't think so. I think Yzerman said it today. Obviously, you don't look into it, but he's like, I think you're not going to get a blockbuster. Maybe he'll
have to rank them all.
But I mean, the lineup, in my opinion, obviously those are all the signings that Detroit made and all the trades they made. Obviously, Husso and Nedeljkovic, that's a nice tandem now. You finally have 2 decent goaltenders. One being terrible and Grace was a big problem. But on defense, I'm looking at, Seider with probably Mata. I'd go with Hronek with Sherratt. And then you're probably going to do, Wallman's not going to start the season because he's hurt. He still needs to be signed. So technically he's hurt. But when he's healthy, I think he's on that third pair. I think Osterley, Lindstrom, and Pysyk are probably on the outside looking in. I think Kampfer gets waived and goes to Grand Rapids. And then it depends. I think a lot of this hinges on how Edvinsson and Johansson do in camp. Because last year, Raymond wasn't supposed to make the team. He was going to go to Grand Rapids. He made the team, and he was fantastic, right? So, and if Edvinsson's good enough, he's going to be on the team, which pushes someone out, right? I think they're going to carry 8 defensemen. So I'm looking at, I think Kampfer's going to be out of it. Wallman's going to be on IR. The guy that I would probably say might get like waived and sent down or traded would be Osterley. I think that's the only one that you could really just get rid of for nothing. And then really up front, I mean, looking at these guys, so like, let's see the depth chart here. So, first line, Bertuzzi, Larkin, Raymond. Pretty damn good. Second line, like I said, Vrana, Kopp, and Perron. That's a scoring line, definitely.
Oh my!
Now here's the thing: the third line is Kubalik with Suter and Zadina, in my opinion.
Okay.
The scoring there could be potentially pretty good too. Now, like that's your top 9. Flip guys around no matter what. What I'm seeing with all 9 of those guys they're more offensively gifted players, right? On your fourth line right now, anyway, you've got Ernie, Rasmussen, and Sundqvist. It's not a bad fourth line, really. I mean, you got some big dudes, that can throw the body around. I think you ask Sundqvist to become that guy. Be a big dude, finish your hits.
Sundqvist.
Right? And Rasmussen, I would play on the wing still, in my opinion, because
he had been scoring a few goals lately. The last 10 or 20 games in the regular season.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm like in shock.
And he was on the wing, which he was mostly on center. I think on the wing, he can kind of. You don't have to be as responsible when you're a winger. I'm not saying you don't have to not do anything, but playing center is a huge thing, right?
Something must have worked out for him,
right? So that's your 12. But here's the guys that are still like Fabry, right? He's a top 9 guy, right? Like I said, Joe Veleno, like he can go down to the minors. I think he's probably going to start in Grand Rapids, which is probably what he needs. You got, Mark Pysyk. We'll see what happens with him. Giovanni Smith, I don't think he's really that effective. I think he'll come up if there's some injuries. The interesting one is going to be Berggren. And they did sign Pontus Andreasson from Sweden. Yeah, I think he's going to be in the AHL. He can get sent down. Anybody that's waiver exempt is going down because there's way too much talent up that is not waiver exempt. So I don't really see any of these guys that are waiver exempt getting claimed at all. Like maybe someone claims Giovanni Smith. I doubt it. But man, like what a difference a day makes. Like just free agency in general. I didn't think that they would look this different or sign that many guys. They literally added a whole brand new line. Like if you really want to look at this and be blown away by it, your first line's the same. Your fourth line is the same. If you go Zadina, Suter, and Vrana, which was basically your second line last year, and that's the same, they added a whole new line. They added Kopp, Perron, and Kubalik. And then they still have Fabry. It's such and like Veleno and like there's other guys. Like you have a good problem now. You have too many players. You have too many players that can be on the NHL roster, where the last however many years you didn't have enough. You were just getting guys to play because it was like, well, we need bodies, right? So I love the fact that they made a lot of these moves. I hope they all work out. Like I said, the Sherratt one was the only one where I was like, okay, I really need to see him play. To maybe appreciate what he brings to the table, and hopefully he can be effective going forward. Overall, I loved the free agency. I think they're done though. Yzerman said, I think this is kind of it because I really don't see what else they could do. They're done in goal. They're done up front. They've got their defensemen. I think that's pretty much it. Barring any trades, again, there's only a handful of guys you can move because you're not going to trade anybody you just signed or traded for. I don't see a lot of people talking about Bertuzzi. I don't see him moving. Obviously, Raymond's not moving. Sider's not moving.
No.
Hronik, maybe if the right price comes. I mean, I don't see it. I really don't. Again, they could move somebody if they really wanted to.
Right now, I think they're all set. Here.
I think they are. I mean, you get into camp and maybe a few guys get a PTO to come in and have a player tryout, but I was kind of honestly a little bit blown away because I was refreshing Twitter. Usually, I take the day off work and be a loser, and I just stay home and watch TSN all day. But I was just refreshing Twitter and just, man, what a day of signings. And that's not even talking about all the other signings in the NHL. But I mean, I don't think we have time to do that. But the Wings, I think they're looking good going this year. Are they a playoff team? No. They're definitely improved, but Ottawa also improved, right? Montreal, I mean, they're probably going to still be close to the bottom, I think. They're still rebuilding.
The
Buffalo
Wings and
still
Senators
rebuilding.
improved. The Wings and Senators improved. They just have to earn that playoff spot if they want to get into it.
Yeah, and I think, like, obviously, like, Tampa's a different team, but they still have their core. I mean, they went bananas with the extensions. I don't know if you saw that, but 3 8-year extensions, Sergachev, Chernak, and Cirelli all got 8-year extensions. So they're keeping the band together.
With the Lightning,
With the Lightning, but so they're going to be good for a while. Toronto, a lot of people shit all over the Leafs. I mean, they couldn't really do a whole lot.
Another first round exit.
But they're still going to be good in the regular season. So Detroit's not better than them. They're not even close.
No.
And then, Florida and Boston. Florida didn't really do anything to improve. They lost players. Yeah, I don't know if, Florida, like, which team that's ahead of Detroit could fall off? It's Florida or Boston. And I don't know who it would be. It would have to be one of them. You'd have to beat out a lot of teams. All I want for the Wings this year is that they're competitive at the beginning of March. That they're in the hunt. They're a few games out, maybe. That's kind of what I think people were hoping for the Tigers this year, is to be like in the conversation. But that's kind of what I want. This is the year. I've talked about it before. It's like jumping into the pool, and then your feet go all the way down, and they touch the bottom. And that was the year where they bottomed out, and Detroit was dead last in the league. But then you need to push off the floor, right? I think last year I was kind of hoping they'd push right off the floor. I think their toes were still on it. This year I want to see them like halfway up, right? When you get to the top, that's where you're breathing air. You're in the playoffs. You have a chance, right? And next off season, looking at some of the free agents that are coming up next year, I mean, you got to re-sign Larkin and Bertuzzi. So it's a big swing year. If Detroit doesn't perform this year, man, there could be some big changes. I hope there's not some tough decisions at the deadline. If they're bottoming out, Bertuzzi and Larkin, like, do you move them? What can you get for them, right? But not talking about that. Yeah, we hope they do really well. And it's like, no, we're going to re-sign. They're already talking Larkin's going to sign an extension. A lot of the insiders are saying he's going to sign. Bertuzzi's the one. But if we went through maybe like even the top 10 of these guys, there's somewhere I kind of go, I don't know if they'll re-sign with it. Like Huberdeau's going to be back with the Panthers. There's no way that he's going to go anywhere. JT Miller's a free agent. He's 30 years old. Patrick Kane's going to be a free agent. He's good as gone from Chicago. Nathan McKinnon's re-signed with Colorado. Tarasenko's an interesting one because I think he wants out of St. Louis. Joe Pavelski is ancient. DeBrinket's probably going to get re-signed by Ottawa. Here's an interesting one. David Pastrnak. If Boston is the team that bottoms out and they aren't as good this year, like, can he leave? Like, could he test free agency? Timo Meyer's a really interesting one. Jordan Kyrou, I mean, he's going to be RFA. So is Meyer. So I kind of wish I could get rid of the. I can. Let's do that. I want UFA. Let's look at that. And Cap Friendly is like the best site of all time. Michael Bunting. Oh, good God. I don't want him. Barbashev, Killorn, Ryan O'Reilly. That's an interesting one. He's 32, though. But that's at one point you have to kind of go, all right, I don't give a shit about their age. I want talent, right? So I don't know if there's anybody that's like a stud that you can bring in. Just looking at this, I'd have to really look at it and be like, who's the big one next year? Maybe it's Pastrnak. That would be hilarious. If he left Boston, dude, pay him $1 billion to get him here. I'll take him for sure. But yeah, maybe next year is where they take a bigger swing at it, right? And sign one of the big free agents, like the Johnny Gaudreau, right?
Right. Yeah, Johnny Gaudreau signed with the Blue Jackets along with Goodbranson, right?
Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
I again just reiterate, I love what the Wings did. I love what Yzerman did. I'm hopeful that they're in the playoff hunt. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. A lot of things would have to go right for them. A lot of things would have to go wrong for a few other teams. Maybe you're trying to sniff a wild card, but other than that, I'm really looking forward to this season. It's the first time that the Red Wings have really bought in free agency in a while, right? And instead of just signing depth pieces and letting their young guys come up. I love that they have this depth now. I love that they still have young prospects coming in. They have these top picks that are just going to take a few years to develop. I think it's an exciting time to be a Wings fan, because I think this is we're going back up. It might still take a few years, but we're on the ups for sure.
Yeah, it's still like some progress or a process, one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see what happens this upcoming season. I can't wait. I'm still a lot more with the Red Wings than with the Tigers, and even with the Pistons, even though they drafted Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, but yeah,
I could try to combine, get both Brian Rager and TSO Sage together as two special guests to talk Pistons.
You could. See, I said Bobo knows more about basketball than I do. I pay attention to it because I'm right across the river, but I'm not a huge basketball guy. But from what I'm hearing of what Troy Weaver has done, it's looking pretty good. But same thing, they're not going for it yet. They're like, hey, let's get the young guys in and we'll kind of build it, slower. We got our plan. Very, very close to what Yzerman is doing. And arguably you'd think NFL, you can turn it around quicker, but Brad Holmes is doing the same type of thing, right? It's like, okay, let's get our guys in here and let's not do anything rash. Let's not do anything stupid. That's gonna, we're trying to speed it up too quick. Cause I did see a tweet about the Wings. Oh, they're trying to speed it up. No, they're not. They're trying to get better. That's all they're trying to do. They're not trying to make obviously you want to make the playoffs, but they're just
sometimes
trying to get
speed
talent.
Kills.
For sure. I don't think anybody that they really signed is that fast in here though, but they got a lot more talent. They got a lot more scoring. They got a lot more defense. They got a lot more grit. And I think that's exciting as a Wings fan.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that is it. I think their roster's full, like I said. So, any final thoughts, Kyle?
I think we pretty much covered it, didn't we? I think we summed it up pretty good.
Yep, we did. So that is another fine interview with Kyle Busch. I'm Taylor Phillips. This has been another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast for July 14th, 2022. Follow the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Michigan_truth, and like it on Facebook and subscribe to its YouTube channel and spread the word. Special business shout outs go to Cali Tickets. Call Mark Goldman at 877-225-8425 or visit CaliTickets.com to purchase a ticket to an event of your choice, whether it's a hockey game or a music concert, whatever. Also, Northern Star Event Rentals in Cadillac. Get a hold of Heather Krzyzewski at 231-884-8195 or like its Facebook page, providing bounce houses, water slides. Yeah, they're all inflatables here. Obstacle courses, inflatable obstacle courses, large and small tents for open houses and whatnot, taking bookings for the rest of the summer. And also Creative Embroidery of Cadillac, designing my Michigan Sports Truth logo on my t-shirt and my long sleeve shirt. Kyle, thanks for being on here once again. We'll talk to you sometime eventually again.
It's always fun. Always when the season starts, just hit me up. I always like talking Wings.
Oh yeah, probably a little more before the preseason starts.
We could.
Yeah, absolutely. Or probably after the preseason.
When the roster shakes out, kind of look at the when the dust settles, right?
Yep. We'll keep our eyes on them.
For sure.
The truth is out there. Hit them with a hind. TTFN, Tata for now. Power to the people. We rest our case. Stay out of trouble, Red Wings fans, and stay smart.